And you know what's crazy? When someone says, you shouldn't be doing that, what you really mean is you shouldn't be doing that. Maybe I should be doing that. You do not need permission from anyone else to live the life God has created you to live. And by the way, if you're waiting for permission, you're probably never going to walk on that path. Because not only do you need to make the secular decision, but you need to commit to your path. Paul says, I appeal to Caesar. What he's saying is, I'm going to Rome, and nothing and no one's going to stop me, not even my weaker self. What Paul did is he set every other option on fire, no plan B for his life, burned every bridge that could lead him to a lesser way. See, most of you aren't making the hard decisions between like evil and good. You didn't wake up this morning going, do I go to Mosaic or do I rob a bank? Which one? It's like, no, okay, today I'll go to Mosaic. Tomorrow, the bank. But today, you probably are not making decisions between extreme good and extreme evil. Your choices are more around average and extraordinary, not good and evil. And the crazy thing is when you finally choose your path, you'll have fewer and fewer people who accept your path. You have people in your life right now who like you the way you are, especially if you're average. Am I allowed to say that? No, I'm not saying you're average. I'm just saying you might be average. Not because you have average talent or average intelligence or average opportunity, but because you're comfortable with average. And so you shouldn't be offended because you chose it. If you choose average, you shouldn't be upset if someone says, oh, you're very average. You should say, yes, it's a choice I've made. Because people ask me, well, who do you coach? Because I coach certain people one-on-one. I said, I like coaching people who have zero margin of error. See, average has massive margin of error. If you're shooting for average, you're going to hit it. You can make so many mistakes and still be average. You don't have to get up tomorrow early and still be average. You can quit your job and still be average. You can do bad work and still be average. I mean, when average is your target, you're going to nail it. Because you have almost an endless margin of error. But you see, if you decide to move from average to good, that margin of error is going to reduce. And if you make the decision to go from good to great, your margin of error is going to reduce. And if you decide to move from great to extraordinary to unique, if you decide to pursue your personal genius and greatness, your margin of error will reduce to almost zero. And I love working with people like that because they don't have many people in their lives. You get so many friends when you're average because average people love average people. Have you ever had friends and then you decided to upgrade, not your friends, but your life? And all of a sudden they didn't like you anymore? They'll always come up to you and go, wow, you've really changed. See, what they actually mean is, wow, you've really grown. But I don't want to say you've grown because that means I didn't grow. So I want to say you've changed so that I don't want to indict myself because I haven't changed. I had this phone call years ago with someone I really admire, and they said to me, wow, you've really changed. But they didn't say it as a compliment. They said it as an insult. Wow, you've really changed. And I felt offended. Tone can really offend. I wanted to say, no, I haven't. But I knew I had. So I gave it a few days to process, and I called them back. I said, you're right. I've really changed. I am different at 35 than I was at 25. Thank God. And I'm going to be different at 40 and 35 and 45 than I am at 40 and 50 than I was at 45. In fact, I'm going to keep changing. I'm going to keep growing. In fact, if you haven't changed, you should just curl up in a fetal position in a corner and start to weep. Because if someone sees you 10 years from now and says to you, wow, you're exactly the way I remember you, you should have a panic attack in that moment. Because the last thing you want to be is the same person you used to be. Yeah, come on. But you have to commit to your path. You have to commit to your path and realize not everyone's going to go with you. All I need you to remember is one thing: Wyoming. That's it. If you need more help, South Dakota, Idaho, North Dakota. Those are all the states where people were going to California and gave up. Now, I love potatoes. I'm for Idaho. I love Cheyenne. I love every one of you who happens to be listening, who has the technology to hear this. I love you. But your ancestors were not struggling to get to Sioux Falls. They were not fighting to get to Cheyenne. They were not killing themselves and losing relatives on the hard trail to get to Des Moines. They were all going to Oregon or to California. They were going until the Pacific Ocean told them they couldn't go any further. But people dropped off on the trail. There's a reason why they call the people in Portland the trailblazers, because they went as far as you could go. And in your life, if you want to keep all your friends, give up on your future. Give up on your goals. I know this is such a hard thing to hear, but hear me out. You're going to have people who will fight for you to never change. You're going to have people who will call you out and say you're not loyal if you decide to grow. And you have to decide how you're going to pick the people that journey with you. If you're an alcoholic, you know this. You have to give up your drinking buddies. If you're an alcoholic and you decide to go dry, to be straight, you have to give up your drinking buddies, because your drinking buddies are drinking buddies. And when you stop drinking, they stop being buddies. And you get this. You understand that if you're going to change your pattern, you have to get around sober buddies. You have to get around people who now have the values and the patterns and the disciplines that you want to have in your life. We get that with drinking buddies, but we don't get that from underachieving buddies. The great danger, even here in this epicenter of human creativity, is that you will surround yourself with underachieving buddies. That you'll surround yourself with people who decide, it's enough to survive. It's enough to pay the bills. It's enough to make it through the day. It's enough just to exist. It's enough. And then one day you may wake up realizing you just burned all of these days and weeks and months and years of your life, and you're done. I can't do this anymore. And you're going to get up and you're going to make the changes that elevate you to a different level. And you're going to think your friends are going to cheer you on, but they're not. And you're going to have to decide, do you keep traveling across the prairie? Do you keep wandering across the desert? Do you fight across those mountains to get to the final destination of your life? Paul is going to Rome and nothing is stopping him, and very few will ever go with him. They couldn't understand his life, and here's the beautiful thing: no one needs to understand your life. You just need to know your calling.